Hello viewers, I am Professor Ushwinder Kaur Popli, Professor in the Department of Social Work, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. In today's session, I would be discussing with you the evolution of social work as an academic discipline. This session will help you to understand the relationship between social work and other disciplines. The emergence of numerous problems within industrial society during the 19th century gave rise to the development of modern social work. Although it took considerable time for social work to gain recognition as an independent discipline, it is important to note that social work remains closely connected with several other academic fields. Social work is often referred to as a helping profession, a problem-solving profession, or an enabling profession because its core purpose is to support people in overcoming difficulties and improving their well-being. Whether assisting individuals, families or communities, social workers aim to empower people to deal with life's challenges such as poverty, discrimination, family conflict, illness or disability and help them build healthier, more stable lives. To be recognized as a profession like medicine, law or education, a field must meet several key criteria. One of the most important requirements is that it must have its own body of knowledge, that is a structure collection of theories, concepts, principles and practices that are specific to the profession. This knowledge must be based on evidence, built over time through study, research or practical experience. For social work, this means not just borrowing from other disciplines like psychology, sociology or political science, but also developing its own theories and frameworks that explain why people behave in certain ways or how their environment, that is family, community or society affects them. It must also be able to test and apply this knowledge to solve real life problems. In addition, social work must create practical methods of intervention that are effective, ethical and tailored to diverse client needs. These methods are used in fields like mental health, child welfare, community development, rehabilitation and disaster response. As a profession grows, social workers continue to generate new insights and refine their techniques, strengthening social workers' identity as a specialized knowledge-based discipline. However, since social work mainly focuses on helping people, it faces a challenge in building its own strong knowledge base. Most social workers are busy working in the field and don't have much time to develop theories or do research. On the other hand, researchers in social work are sometimes criticized for producing studies that are not very useful for their actually working with people. In its early stages, social work did not have clearly defined body of its knowledge. Instead, it relied heavily on insights and theories drawn from well-established disciplines like psychology, sociology, economics and political science. These fields provided the foundational understanding of human behavior, social structures, economic systems and governance, all of which are crucial to address the complex social problems that social workers encounter. However, from the 1970s onward, the field of social work began to grow and evolve, gradually establishing its own professional identity. It developed distinct theories, concepts and methods that were directly shaped by practice experiences in diverse settings such as healthcare, child welfare, mental health, education and community development. According to Reamer in 1994, this marked a significant shift as social work moved beyond merely borrowing knowledge to building its own academic and practical foundation. Despite this advancement, social work has not severed its ties with other disciplines. In fact, it continues to maintain a strong interdisciplinary nature. The profession recognizes that many social issues such as poverty, mental health, inequality and violence, these are complex and multidimensional and therefore require insights into a variety of fields. For example, psychology helps in understanding individual behavior and trauma, sociology examines group dynamics and societal trends, economics sheds lights on poverty and resource distribution, and political science aids in understanding policy and governance. Thus, let's understand the interdisciplinary nature of social work and how its relationship with other academic disciplines continues to shape and strengthen its theory, practice and professional values. Through this understanding, we will see how social work stands as both a unique profession and a collaborative partner in the larger effort to bring about positive social change. Let us look at the evolution of social work as an academic discipline. Modern social work emerged in the 19th century as a direct response to the social and economic problems caused by the rise of industrial society. Rapid industrialization led to urban overcrowding, poverty, poor working conditions, child labor, and the breakdown of traditional community support systems. These widespread issues highlighted the need for structured and systematic efforts to support vulnerable individuals and communities. While this is true that religious traditions across the world, including Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and others, have long promoted the values of compassion, charity, and services to others, the help they inspired was mostly informal, unstructured, and rooted in moral and spiritual duty. The acts of kindness and support for poor, sick, elderly, and orphaned were often carried out by individuals, families, or religious communities as part of their faith-based responsibilities. These efforts were sincere and meaningful, but they varied widely in scope, method, and consistency. There were no common standards, formal training, or structured approaches to address the deeper causes of suffering and inequality. It was during the modern period, particularly in the context of 19th century industrial society, that the concept of helping others began to shift from purely charitable or religious act to a structured, organized and professional activity. This change was driven by the realization that informal help alone was not enough to tackle the complex and large-scale social issues emerging in rapidly growing urban areas. Over time, helping those in need evolved into a systemic process, supported by education, training, research, and a code of ethics. This marked the beginning of professional social work, a field that is grounded not only in empathy and moral values, but also in scientific understanding and practical skills designed to bring about lasting change in both individual lives and broader society. The rise in professional social work is not just a consequence of changing social conditions, it also became a powerful tool for driving social change. Trained social workers began to not only assist individuals, but also work towards reforming the systems and structures that created a sustained inequality, poverty, and injustice. Thus, professional social work played a dual role, both as a response to existing societal problems and as a catalyst for broader social reform. The emergence of social work in West was deeply influenced by significant social, political, and economic transformations that unfolded during the 19th century. Among these, industrialization played a central role. As industries grew rapidly, they created new forms of employment that attracted large populations from rural areas to urban centers. This massive movement of people led to urbanization, on an unprecedented scale. However, urbanization, while offering economic opportunities, also gave rise to a range of new and complex problems. As people migrated from villages to cities in large numbers, traditional rural communities began to break down. These communities, though simple and informal, had strong social bonds and systems of mutual support that helped people cope with everyday challenges. Neighbors knew and helped one another, and community elders or religious figures often acted as informal counselors or mediators. In the rapidly growing cities, however, these traditional networks of care and social control were largely absent. Urban areas became increasingly overcrowded, disorganized, and strained, often lacking proper housing, sanitation, clean water, healthcare, and employment for all. The pace of growth far outstripped the capacity of existing infrastructure and governance systems. As a result, traditional institutions like families, churches, mosques, and temples, which had once served as a primary source of moral guidance and basic welfare, could no longer meet the scale and complexity of urban needs. Many families were fragmented by economic pressures, and religious institutions, although still active, found it difficult to address the growing demand for help, support, and social order. This gap highlighted the urgent need for organized, professional systems of social care and intervention, laying the groundwork for the emergence of modern social work as a dedicated response to these new urban realities. As a result, people in urban areas began to experience both material hardships such as poverty, unemployment, poor housing and inadequate healthcare, and moral challenges including crime, isolation, and social disorganization. The existing charitable efforts were no longer sufficient to address these growing and layered problems. These developments created an urgent need for systematic organized response, one that was based on not only compassion but also on professional knowledge, skills, and methods. It was in this context that modern social work began to take shape, aiming to address both the individual and structural dimensions of human suffering in a newly industrialized society. Modern social work began during this time with volunteers, mostly middle class white women, started working among the poor and needy to help them overcome their finances and social challenges. Over time, there was a growing realization that charitable efforts needed to be more organized, efficient, and humane. This led to the creation of pioneering efforts like the Charity Organization Societies (COS) and settlement houses. The Charity Organization Societies (COS) and Settlement House were the pioneering efforts in this direction. The COS was founded in 1869 in UK and in 1877 in the USA. It introduced a new system of helping the poor through the use of visitors who assured the need for people seeking aid. This approach brought some order to the disorganized system of charity and also emphasized treatment, not just aid. COS workers provided emotional and psychological support, laying the foundation for what was later become known as case work. Additionally, the COS promoted the formation of specialized agencies to coordinate welfare services more effectively. Settlement houses first appeared in the United States in 1889 as part of the growing effort to address the social and economic challenges faced by urban poor communities. These centers were unique in that they brought university students and educated volunteers to live directly among the poor. The idea was not only to provide assistance but also to build genuine relationships, observe day to day struggles, and gain a deeper understanding of the realities of poverty. The philosophy of 3 Rs, residence, reform, and research, was a pioneering approach in the field of social work, especially during the late 19th and 20th century. This approach provided a holistic and humane way of addressing social problems, ensuring that social work were not just distant professionals but active members of the communities they served. Each R played a critical role in shaping early social work practice. Number 1 R, that is residence, living among the people. The principle of residence emphasized the importance of physically living in the same neighborhood as the people being helped. Social workers and reformers would stay in the very communities where poverty, unemployment, and social exclusion were most severe. This approach helped build trust between the reformers and the community members. It broke down social barriers and allowed the workers to truly understand the daily struggle, culture, and aspirations of people. Living alongside the poor gave reformers first-hand knowledge of the community needs and prevented a detached, charity-based approach. Instead, it promoted empathy, shared experiences, and mutual respect. This approach was famously practiced in places like Toynbee Hall in London and Hull House in Chicago, where educated middle class reformers lived and worked alongside impoverished communities. The second R is reform, improving social conditions. The second R, reform, focused on bringing about lasting social change. Instead of only providing temporary help or charity, reformers worked on address the root cause of social problems. They established educational programs such as literacy classes and vocational training to empower individuals with skills. They set up health clinics, recreational activities, and childcare centers to improve overall community well-being. Reformers also advocated for better laws and social policies such as fair labor practices, housing reforms, and public health initiatives. This aspect of the approach recognized that social problems were often linked to economic and political structures, and solving them required active involvement in social and legislative reform. Third R is research, that is understanding and solving problems. The third R, research, emphasized the need to study social conditions scientifically and base actions on evidence rather than assumptions. Social workers carefully documented the living conditions, employment situations, health issues, and educational status of community members. They conducted surveys and case studies, helping identify patterns of poverty and marginalization. The findings from these research were used to influence public policies, shape social programs, and develop better intervention strategies. This systematic study laid the foundation of evidence-based social work, emphasizing that effective solutions must be informed by careful observation and analysis. Overall, a significance of 3R approach is that they helped establish professional social work as a blend of compassion, action, and science. It promoted direct community engagement, that is residence, structural and policy level change, that is reform, and knowledge driven practice, that is research. This approach taught early social workers that real social change happens not just through act of kindness but through shared living, practical solutions, and informed advocacy. In contrast to the charity society organizations, in contrast to the charity organization societies, COS, which focused mainly on reforming individuals through personal support and moral guidance. Settlement houses emphasized understanding and changing the broader structural issues that cause poverty. Their goal was not just to assist people temporarily, but to challenge the social, economic, and political systems that produced inequality. Settlement houses thus became important spaces for community engagement, education, and social reform, and they played a foundational role in shaping the values and practices of modern social work, particularly its emphasis on empathy, empowerment, and social justice. Another major factor that influenced the development of social work was the rise of various social movements during the 19th and 20th century. These included labor movements, socialist movements, women's rights movements, and struggles for racial justice. These movements brought growing awareness among the rights of marginalized groups such as physically and mentally disabled, children, refugees, and the homeless. Many social workers either led or were deeply influenced by these movements. A well-known example is Jane Addams, who established settlement houses in Chicago and later won the Nobel Peace Prize for her contribution to the peace movement. Social workers also played a key role in advocating for laws that protected the rights of minorities, women, and people with disability. In addition, the increasing involvement of government in welfare programs greatly contributed to the professionalization of social work. The US Social Security Act 1935 marked a turning point of making the government responsible for supporting vulnerable groups. Similar developments took place across European countries where the welfare role of the state expanded. Professional social workers were actively involved in planning and running these programs, which helped the field of social work gain more recognition and credibility. As social work began playing a large role in society, it became necessary to create a formal education system to train social workers effectively. The first step in this direction was taken by Columbia University, which introduced a 6-week training program in 1896 for volunteers working in the welfare sector. Over time, the number and duration of courses increased as new subjects were added to the curriculum. According to Newcomer, 3 key developments helped the rise of social work education in the United States. Number 1, the growth of social science in academic disciplines. Number 2, the establishment of National Conference of Charities and Corrections. And number 3, the founding of privately funded women's college and public co-educational universities. By early 20th century, social work courses became a part of university education system in the US. However, there was ongoing debate about the content and duration of these courses. In 1932, the Association of Schools of Social Work, ASSW, introduced a minimum 1-year curriculum. This included important subjects such as medical and psychiatric knowledge, social legislations, legal aspects of social work, and research. In 1944, AASSW identified 8 areas that were key and should be a part of social work education. Number 1, public welfare, social casework, social group work, community organization, medical information, social research, psychiatry, and social welfare administration. To further regulate social work education, the Council of Social Work Education, CSWE, was formed in 1952. In 1962, CSWE developed the first formal curriculum policy. It divided the curriculum into 3 broad areas. Number 1, social welfare policy and services. Number 2, human behavior and social environment. Number 3, methods of social work practice. In 1982, the curriculum was revised to emphasize the role of liberal arts and identified 5 key areas: human behavior and social environment, social welfare policy and services, social work practice, research and field practicum. Later in 1992, new areas of concerns were added. These included values and ethics, cultural and ethnic diversity, populations at risk, and a continued focus on the core areas such as policy, practice, and field training. Today, there is a broad agreement in the United States on the essential topics that should be included in formal social work education. The World Census of Social Work Education 1998 to 1999, conducted by the International Association of Schools of Social Work IASSW, provided a global picture of the subjects included in social work education, although it notably did not include India in its findings. The study revealed that 4 key subjects: research, social policy, personal and interpersonal interventions, and community interventions were taught at approximately 68.7% of social work schools around the world. These subjects reflected the core practice area and are considered essential in preparing social work professionals to engage with individuals, families, and communities. In addition to these core areas, several other important subjects were found to be taught in about 50% to 58% of social work institutions outside the United States. These included social and public administration, social history and philosophy, ethnic and cultural focus, biopsycho, social theory, and organizational theory. These topics provided a broader understanding of societal structures, human behavior, diversity, and how organizations and systems operate. Elements that are crucial for effective social work in various contexts. The social work curriculum, therefore, is carefully designed to transfer essential knowledge, skills, and values to students entering the profession. It serves not just as a guide of teaching, but also as a framework for maintaining professional standards across different practice settings. Broadly, the curriculum is divided into 4 major components. The first component is Human Behavior and Social Environment, HBSE. This component includes the study of theories that help explain how individuals and groups behave in society. It draws from sociology, psychology, economics, and history to understand personal development, social relationships, cultural influences, and environmental factors. These insights help social workers assess client needs and plan appropriate interventions. The second is social policy, social welfare policy, and social welfare administration. This component covers how policies are created, implemented, and evaluated. It provides an understanding of welfare systems and the role of government and institutions in addressing social issues. It draws from public policy, law, and public administration, enabling social workers to advocate for better services and navigate bureaucratic structures. The third component is the heart of the curriculum and includes the practical application of knowledge through methods like casework, working with individuals, group work, that is working with groups, and community organization, working at the community level. This is social work practice. Within these methods, various models of interventions have been developed, such as the task-centered model that focuses on short-term problem solving, and the ecological model which looks at the person in environment approach. Fourth component is social work research. This component emphasizes the importance of evidence-based practice. Unlike journal social science research, which aims to discover objective truths, Social work research focuses on evaluating interventions and improving practice outcomes. It helps practitioners understand what works, for whom, and what circumstances allow for better decision making in real life situations. As social work gained professional recognition, the number of publications, books, journals, and academic articles also increased. These writings contributed significantly to the growth of knowledge of the field. For instance, Mary Richmond's influential book, Social Diagnosis, was one of the first to outline a systemic method for assessing and addressing clients' problem. It laid the foundation for what we now call casework. Similarly, pioneers like Grace Coyle and Mary Parker Follett played a major role in shaping the theory and practice of group work, emphasizing participation, empowerment, and democratic functioning within group settings. Over time, these scholarly contributions and the growing involvement of social work professionals in diverse fields, from healthcare or education to child welfare and criminal justice, have shaped the discipline into well-structured, evidence-informed, and socially relevant profession. Social work education today reflects both the richness of interdisciplinary knowledge and the practical focus needed to serve vulnerable population. It draws from a wide range of disciplines such as psychology, sociology, economics, political science, law, medicine, and ethics to build a strong conceptual foundation. This diverse knowledge base helps students understand the complex realities that individuals and communities face. At the same time, social work education emphasizes hands-on training, fieldwork, and real-life application of methods like casework, group work, and community organization. By integrating theory with practice, it prepares professionals who are not only well informed but also skilled in addressing the needs of marginalized and at risk populations with empathy, competence, and a commitment to social justice. Thank you.